When should a founder look for funding?
When the idea has been validated, has certain revenues, has a product, then it can be taken to somebody else to show who's now investing in the business and not in you only. How much the founder looks, who the founder looks from, and when are all very important questions.
Why is it difficult for a solo founder to raise funds?
We only fund minimum two founder startups, right? If you're going to have a linear growth curve, you are not going to be right for VC.
Hi guys, welcome to Community Questions Podcast number 3. So we have Mr. Varun with us today. So today's theme is completely into investment, venture capitalist, investors and all. I would like you to share your knowledge and your wisdom to the community so that it could be very much helpful for us.
Happy to share whatever I know.
Yeah, amazing. Can you just start with a small intro of yours, like about your past experience and your investment journey? How was your investment journey and all?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I basically started off as an entrepreneur at the age of 25, 26. I started off life being a corporate employee for an organization called Goldman Sachs in New York. Then, after about spending 2.5 years there, they were setting up their KPO in Bangalore, and I took up that option and I came to Bangalore. So another 2.5 years I spent there. So after this 4.5, 5 year journey, I then decided I wanted to create my own business rather than work for somebody else's business. And that's where some of the exploration and the experimentation started. Luckily, I had a very supportive father who, when I explained this to, he said, "No problem. You've got your own savings, you've got no dependents, and I'll let you live in my house for free." So I took up that offer and I started living with him in Delhi and I started experimenting on startups. My first few startups was whatever came easy to me. So it started with um, Springboard Investments was my first business, which was about helping funding for early stage startups. So typically this would be creating business models, connecting with various angel investors, normally within the network of the founder themselves, and trying to enable the funding activity to happen. Usually tens of lakhs to a couple of crores, that type of funding activity. This is now 2007. So did that for a year or two, learned a lot, but I was still a one-man army, and I wanted to create something where I wasn't in day-to-day operations, and if I didn't wake up that day, then the company still worked, right? So for me, I think then I started two, three different businesses. I started a media technology business. I started a personal concierge business for NRIs. I started an algorithmic trading hedge fund business. So one by one, 6 months, I tried different things, and they were mildly successful to complete failures, but they taught me a lot. So this was my whole exploratory journey where I learned a lot of skills. I made a little bit of money, but really it was about exploration and learning entrepreneurship the hard way.
Yeah.
Come 2009, I started a startup. I joined a startup called My Guest House in the budget accommodation stay space. My partner's name, Jiten Arora, he had started, he was a technology guy. And my family came from the travel space.
Okay.
So, sort of, I come from travel, he comes from technology. The idea was to build a travel technology startup. And, for the most part, it was one of the best startups I had made to date. It even got acquired by Make My Trip.
Okay.
But subsequently, I wouldn't say it was very successful because I had much to learn about how to create a successful startup. It looked good enough, but it didn't deliver total value for Make My Trip. I know that. And to this day, I believe I owe Deep Kalra one. Deep is the founder of Make My Trip. After that, I started 91 Springboard. 91 Springboard actually started as an accelerator. It wanted to be like Y Combinator of 500 startups, investing in startups, building out the startup, and then sharing in the value that we've created through equity. But within a year or so, we got no funding. But entrepreneurs were working with us, coming into our space, starting their offices there, meeting investors, mentors, vendors, co-founders, all of that was happening. So all the value we wanted to provide was being given outside of capital. So we said maybe the business model can be changed, but the same business can carry out as co-working. So what started off as an accelerator or a venture builder became a co-working company with basically the same operation, same value proposition.
Okay.
So that's what we did year two, 2.5 onwards at 91 Springboard, and subsequently we grew it to we have served over 30,000 companies and counting. It's a financially successful business. It's profitable. Might even go public, and we definitely made starting up a startup easier for many people, which I think was the exciting impact goal. If you ask me, that was the impact goal for 91 Springboard, and it's clearly delivered on that.
Yeah.
Now, come 2020, COVID happened. It changed many businesses, and for us, it changed. For a long time, it was actually illegal to come into work during COVID. Right? People could not gather; it was not allowed.
True.
So for some months, it was illegal to run a co-working company, basically. And slowly things started to open up legally, but still people's fears, and rightly so, kept them from coming into co-working spaces. So we had 1 or 2 years where it was uncertain what would happen to our business. And that led me to a moment where I asked myself some hard questions. What do I want out of life? What is the business I want to build? And I used the Ikigai framework that you know I love. I asked myself the 4 famous questions. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And how can you make money doing it? And out of that, Build 3 was born as a venture builder or as an accelerator, where we can help entrepreneurs pursuing purpose and profit. And we can help those entrepreneurs with capability, with a community, and with some capital to go on that journey and hopefully meet success and be the best change maker that they can be. We want to partner with such people and support them.
Nice.
To this day, we have helped over 420 founders. We have financially and equity wise participated with over 45 founders. And that journey carries on and is something that is, I would say, my seva. I like working with founders. I like helping and supporting in whatever way I can. Hopefully, it's helping them 5%, 10%, 50% in their journey. That is the work we're doing at Build 3 now. So you asked me about my investing journey. I told you about my founding and startup journey.
Yeah.
We do provide some money, but I still don't see myself as an investor. I see myself as a founder, slightly older and more experienced, helping new generation of founders not make the same mistakes I've made. And yes, we put in some money, but I still don't see myself as an investor.
No, I mean, just look at from the third person view. So usually, person who provides money is an investor.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah. And I really didn't know that 91 Spring would have started as an accelerator.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so that's how the lines were joining with Build 3, is it?
Yes.
Oh, great.
So 91 Springboard was still in the mode of we will support any startup. Then as I became older, I think purpose became important.
Okay.
So purpose and profit startups became the lens of Build 3. But otherwise, 95% similar to 91 Springboard.
Amazing. Yeah, now I could relate more. Great. I'll go to the questions now.
Yeah.
And before that, there is a small characteristic of a person who has asked these questions.
Yes.
So imagine a person who is just around 20, under 25.
Okay.
And
2025.
yeah, so mostly male or female, any gender, no problem.
Okay.
And just started a startup. Into the early stages of the startup, hustling, going to the market and face the brunt of some investors and all.
Yes.
So I would love, in fact, you to answer these questions in that perspective.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
When should a founder look for funding? Yeah.
So I believe how much the founder looks, who the founder looks from, and when are all very important questions.
Okay.
The how much they look for is what they're going to need in the next 18 to 24 months with a 20% buffer. So plan out what activities you're going to do, how much it's going to cost, and plan for unplanned exigencies and keep some extra. That is the how much. So the whom you look for is if it's still in your early days where it's still an idea which has not been validated, you have not developed the product, it has not got actual revenues, you will go to friends and family because they are the people who trust you.
Sure.
They are investing in you, not in the business.
True.
When the idea has been validated, has certain revenues, has a product, then it can be taken to somebody else to show who's now investing in the business and not in you only. It is a business powered by you.
Yeah.
Right, then it is going to a formal outside investor, which could look like an angel investor if you're going for single digit crores, or an accelerator if you're looking for again tens of lakhs to single digit crores. And if you're moved beyond that, you're already in crores of revenues and you're ready to raise millions, then you can go to a seed fund or an early stage VC fund. You can go to them, assuming you have an exponential growth curve. Right, if you're going to have a linear growth curve, you are not going to be right for VC. Right?
True.
But if you're going to have an exponential growth curve, then you're going to be right for VC or a seed investor or an angel investor, right? Angel investors look at both exponential or linear growth curves. And then finally, when is the right time? Go as far as you can with your own abilities, however creative you can be. So if you have saved money from your job, if you can take some money from friends and family, if you've saved your pocket money, whatever, use your own money as long as you can and be creative and avoid using money. Right?
Okay.
Like sometimes you can choose to spend 10,000 rupees doing Google AdWords, or you can be really convincing. And because I live in Goa, you can find a local flea market and convince the owner to give you a stall which normally costs 5,000 rupees for free because you are just so charming and so pleasant and it's such a beautiful product that people will fall in love.
Yeah.
Please give me one chance. Next time onwards, I'll pay.
Sure.
And sometimes you can just convince people. So as far as you can, use your creativity, use your charisma, use whatever means are available to you to not pick up money. But when you've tried everything and you've reached a certain point and there is a dead end, then it is a good time to raise money. And it normally takes at least 6 months, sometimes up to 1 year to raise money. So it doesn't happen overnight. So you have to plan it, you have to maintain relationships, you have to constantly give updates. And sometimes it can feel like, why did I do all this? Because in one meeting I got cash. And sometimes it feels like I kept an investor updated month after month after month. And in the 8th month, they finally felt this team has got it. I will support them. So there's both types that I've seen. You have to maximize your luck, and you maximize your luck by doing hard work. So just reach out to as many people, plan for 6 to 12 months, and keep people informed, keep moving one step forward, be creative, and finally what's meant to happen will happen.
Yeah. So this question is linked to this first question itself. So why should one even bootstrap? I mean, so the question is actually from the community. So what are the benefits of bootstrapping, and why should one even bootstrap?
Sure. There's the selfish reason and there's the true reason.
Yeah.
The selfish reason is so that you don't put in your money or your basically you don't have to put in your own money, and then you can hold the maximum equity if you bootstrap. If you don't bootstrap, then somebody else starts to get a pretty large part of your company in the beginning, because at an idea stage your valuation is the lowest. And if an investor comes in, they'll give you a small valuation, 2, 3 crores, 5 crores, 1 crore even I've seen. So they'll give you a very low valuation, and for 10, 20, 30 lakhs might take a good percentage of your company. So that is the selfish reason to not bootstrap. To bootstrap, sorry. I've confused myself. You know what I'm saying. And the true reason is, if you raise money too early, you believe money is the way to solve the hard problems. If you're trying to build a product that solves a real problem, then you will use money to solve that problem, which is, I don't know if this is solving a problem or not, but let me do a lot of marketing, at least some people will buy it. And then you think it is solving a true problem for a lot of people, but no. You found some corner cases because you put a lot of money in marketing, and some people bought it because you made a great campaign. And some people got convinced, but they're not even happy, or they're not buying again, they're not telling their friends. You didn't solve a true problem. Right? And when you don't take money, marketing is out of the question. The only thing you can do is build a damn awesome product, and yourself, you take it to your uncles, your aunties, your friends, your college mates, your schoolmates, your neighbors. You take it to them and you say, please buy this. and it's your reputation on the line, and you feel guilty of selling them anything bad. So you make something beautiful, something amazing that's really good,
Yeah.
and you hear firsthand from them this is working or not working, and then you take their feedback, you go back, you improve the product.
Yeah.
And then you do that 5 times, 20 times, 30 times until you get it right. And you know that when you've got it perfect, you know it. Because then how easy was sales?
Yeah.
You just had to show to the person like, done. How much? They want to pay you more than you're even asking. You know when you reach that perfect point.
Yeah.
And this only happens when you're deeply involved in the product cycle. And as soon as money gets involved, we start to get away from the product cycle. We start to become businessmen.
Yeah.
And instead of product people, we become business people.
Yeah.
And as soon as we become business people, managing money, spending it well, how do I hire this or how do I spend on marketing and how do I spend on packaging and all these become your questions. Listen, how do I build a damn good product or a service that blows the mind of my customers? That becomes the second question. That's why I don't suggest raising funding too early. Bootstrap for as long as you can until you get true fit. That's my answer.
Amazing. It was in a flow.
Yeah.
So again, two perspectives I have. For the you have said two reasons: ki selfish reason and a normal reason.
Yes.
So I heard an investor saying equity initial stage में मत उसके ऊपर focus मत करो पहले business build करो.
Yes.
And another investor saying you need to secure an equity.
Yes.
So what is your take on it?
Like everything in life, there is no right answer. Given the time and place, there is a different answer that is true in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, like if you believe that giving equity is the right answer, but you can't find an investor, it's the wrong answer. Right? So I don't think there's any right answer. Some people have managed it without giving equity, some people have managed it with giving equity. Different paths have played out well for different people. So I'd say this is a tricky one, but really be in touch with your gut or your instinct or your intuition. It'll tell you when you're on the wrong path, right? So there's lots of gyan coming, and both ways are possible. Genuinely, I think in my 8 startups, I've done both ways, and sometimes one has worked, sometimes other has worked, sometimes one has not worked, and sometimes other has not worked. So there's no one right way true all the time for all the cases. So try something, constantly be observant and see if it is working well. And if it's not, have the courage, have the humbleness to say, hey, this is not working. Let me change.
Okay.
And so that's all I have to say. And the only thing true about startups is there's no one right way.
Yeah.
There are many right ways depending on the time and situation and the people involved.
Okay. So I'll go to the next question.
Yeah.
Amazing question. So I don't know how the answer would be. It would be in one way or two ways. So why is it difficult for a solo founder to raise funds? And in the first place, is it even difficult or no?
So I grew up in an era where Y Combinator was the big daddy of startup incubators, accelerators, right?
Yeah.
And Paul Graham, who's the founder, very famously wrote that we only fund minimum two founder startups because they keep each other going. If something was to go wrong with one founder, at least the other founder can carry it on. They are wingman to each other, like in a gym. You know, when one person's having a lazy day or feeling tired or feeling burnt out, the other one can motivate. So for all of these reasons, two founders was the gold standard that Y Combinator had said. Now, more recently, some people are challenging this. Now there are, again, no one right thing. Some people are still married to this philosophy. But then some people realize that what is happening 3, 4, 5 years after a startup is created, if it started with 2 or 3 founders, what's happening is the co-founders are leaving. And the one main founder is carrying it on. So they're also noticing that. So some investors or some startup people are starting to say, hey, it's also possible to just start with one. In the beginning, it will be more painful, but later on, there is going to be one only, no?
Yeah.
So let me start with one only. So very famously, I happened to meet the founder of WeWork.
Okay.
His name is Adam Newman. And he met me when I was the founder of 91 Springboard. And I had gone with my 3 co-founders to meet him. We were 4 co-founders total. 3 of us went to meet him. He said, you are now at a pretty advanced stage. Why are you 4 co-founders? If it was my choice, I would just have one. And you know why he said this? Because when you're just one founder, any ideas or thoughts you have, you can just do it. You don't have to explain to anybody, you don't have to convince anybody, nothing. You can just do it. So the time from idea to execution is like this. Versus time from idea to execution, when you have co-founders, is you have to discuss, you have to explain, you have to get consensus, you have to agree, and then you execute. Right? And many times the idea will get talked out. Now you can argue that creates better quality ideas, or you can argue that through logic and consensus, good ideas are getting washed away. Both can be argued. So honestly, both things are possible.
Yeah.
The original idea, I think, comes from Y Combinator and Paul Graham and the thought philosophy that he really made popular. But today, I can see some newer people are saying, "Hey, even one founder can do it, and you don't need a co-founder." As always, no right answers. Both are possible.
This is a common answer.
It is a common answer. Yes.
And you have mentioned the WeWork founder, the example. So he came at a scale stage, and I think even in beyond scale. So you were four co-founders, and he said, "Ki why are you guys together? Why only not one founder?" So is it possible कि तीन co-founder side में एक co-founder का company will go forward? Is it can we do that? I mean,
From the beginning, only one co-founder, or are you saying after a few years, the four becomes one? What
yeah,
do you say?
after a few years, the four becomes one.
Yeah, so that always happens. Always.
Okay.
I'll give you every example, it's always the same case. Okay. Internationally, you know Facebook?
Yeah,
You saw the movie?
yeah, I see.
Yeah, it started with two co-founders, Eduardo Saverin and Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, but very soon it became one founder.
Yeah.
Yeah, one main founder, right? I am CEO, bitch. Remember that? So that happened. Do you remember the story of Infosys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Many co-founders.
Yeah.
After a while,
Mm.
primarily Narayan Murthy, right? Let's think of another story. Zomato,
Yeah,
many co-founders, three co-founders,
yeah,
right? Now Dipinder Goyal,
yeah.
right? So all startups, they start off with many co-founders and then they become one after some time. Same is true for me and same is true for most startups. Every startup I can think of, that happens after a while. Google started off with Larry
Larry
Page
Page, yeah.
and Sergey Brin, but soon after it became Larry Page in front.
Mm.
Right? So this is a very common behavior. It's a few years into the journey. One person has the desire to lead, and also the small differences of opinion and vision become very large at a mature stage, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in. Those small differences become big, and the founders don't have the patience to bridge it. And one person's ideology is just executed.
Yeah. Can I say that they have realized over the time कि I'm at the wrong place?
Sometimes I think that also happens. Sometimes a difference in opinion happens. Like, why do they realize I'm in the wrong place, right? Because the daily fightings or disagreements
yeah, true.
or making people agree to their point of view becomes tiring.
Yeah.
That can be one reason. Another point of view can be like, hey, look, now my startup is successful. I only wanted few lakhs or few crores or few millions, and now I've achieved that. Now I want to go into other aspects of life. I want to spend time with family. I want to go hiking. I want to go to spirituality, whatever. There are many reasons this one founder takes a backseat to the other founder.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one formula for that. But there is some reason or the other. These are some examples I gave you where one takes a backseat to the other.
Yeah. And is it easy to convey to the other co-founder कि I'm not enjoying this work, or I mean, in your experience?
I think it depends on your maturity as a human being,
Okay.
right? Because this is a time where there is either conflict or there is mismatch of expectations, and how you navigate that, how you explain that I have certain idea, you have certain idea, sorry it's different, and why is it different, and how can I help you and make this convenient and comfortable for you, and I won't just leave you high and dry. Why is this thought coming to my mind? Blah 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 is hard topics. We as human beings are afraid to have these hard conversations. We don't like to have confrontation, right? We like to just avoid confrontation, right? That's easy.
Yeah.
There's physical fights we don't like, verbal fights we don't like, mental disagreements we don't like. So it depends on your maturity as a human being. It is hard,
True.
but you can do it gracefully and with love if you have some maturity and some mindfulness, it can be done. Can be
Yeah.
done. It's not easy ever.
I'll again link this question to the solo founder one.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity. So, have you ever invested in a solo founder?
Have I ever?
Invested in a solo founder?
Ah, first of all, we've hardly made any investments at all, period. Our investments are 12.
Mhm.
So it's very few that I have done in Build 3. Um, so I'm struggling. I feel like one or two had a solo founder. Yes, I can definitely think of one or two had a solo founder. Um, Sometimes they've succeeded, sometimes they've not. It's hard to say it was because of the founder. You're trying to get at, is there a formula? Do I have a formula of only investing in partnering with uh, two or more founding startups or solo? I think there's a preference to having more than one founder for the simple reason that I think startups are hard.
Okay.
And when there's more than one person, those hard times, it's good to have company.
Hmm.
Just simply somebody to hug, somebody to talk to, somebody to cry with, somebody to just feel sad with together, or somebody to feel happy with, celebrate together. It's just good to have company. We as humans are social animals. So it's good.
Hmm.
When it's an individual, then it's very heavy on a person when challenging times come.
Yeah.
So it's good to have some company for the emotional reasons, also the intellectual reasons that, if I have a certain skill, you have a certain skill. Together we have two skills, or at least one and a half skills, right? So the chances of us succeeding is better. I do believe that. So for the emotional reason and the intellectual reason, I think it's better to have multiple founders. But is it possible for a very well all-rounder single founder to build a startup? I also believe in that.
Okay.
Low probability, but possible.